Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Let's Talk Relationship 101. I'm your host, Tina Reed, and I am so excited to be back with you. Now, let me tell you a little something. Family, my co-hosts are not with me today, but don't you worry. I have the best fill-in co-host that ever known to man. So, I've really been blessed. But before we go into talking about our guest today, I wanted to let you know that one of our co-hosts had decided not to be with us anymore, Daryl Lomax. Because of his endeavors, he decided that at this time, that being a host is not feasible for him. And we understand that, but we do love him and we do wish him the best. So with that being said, also my co-host is not going to be here, Mr. Doug King. He's not with us today, but filling in is none other than Sister Evangelist Barbara D. Green. Thank you for being with me today.
You are more than welcome, and you got that D right.
We had to put that D up in there. But ladies and gentlemen, today I am super excited about our guest. Now remember, we're real people having real conversations about real relationships. So let's get started. Now, today's guest, and we're going to stop calling him guest because he's become a part of our family now. Let's talk. He's a part of our family. He's a brand advocate. He's a life catalyst. He's a motivational speaker. He's a mentor. He is a husband and he is a father. And the most importantly, he's a devout Christian. He loves the Lord. Now, let me tell you something else. He has been in customer service for 20 years. He is a world-renowned author. It's called Wake Your Successful Self Up. Now, Mother, I know we got some successful stuff up in us. We want to wake up. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, family, welcome Mr. Felix Anderson.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited.
Grateful to be here.
So now listen, we're just low key.
Right.
Nothing formal. We just like to just have a good time and have conversation.
Right.
But now our viewers don't really know you, so won't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Felix Anderson. For those of you all who do not know me, I'm Felix Anderson. I'm a brand catalyst, a life catalyst, brand ambassador. Whenever I get on social media, and for me just as an individual, I'm purposed to teach leaders and those that are connected to me how to better serve themselves and actually those who are around them. Many times we try to effectively serve other people when we don't serve ourselves well. And so the whole purpose of me hitting a start broadcast button, the entire purpose for me doing what I do is to really teach individuals how to better serve themselves and those around them.
Awesome. Now, I saw when I was reading your bio, now he's a distinguished man of many, many talents. Now, and he's also the CEO of the Executive Concierges. Would you tell us about that?
The Executive Concierge really was started from me when I was working as a vice president of a food bank in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. And I was connected to a lot of celebrities and connected to a lot of NBA players. And what the Executive Concierge is really all about is really serving people on a higher level. Because many times individuals would come through the city of Jackson. It's not that we don't have a problem getting them to come here. Most of the time we have a problem getting them to come back. And it's really geared upon hospitality. Okay. And so I began to be around the NBA players and a lot of the people who had all of this influence. And the question arose in me, who's taking care of you while you're taking care of everybody else? Right. And so the Executive Concierge is basically designed to take care of celebrities and executives from the time they get off the airplane to the time they get back on the airplane.
Okay, now do you already have a set requirement? Can anyone join, or you already have people on staff to help you with that? Or like if someone really wanted to be connected with that, how can they?
Well, with the concierge, we have what we call lead concierge. So I'll give you a prime example. We had a few celebrities that came to town, and we get these random calls because many times when they come to town, many of them don't want to want people to know that they're in town.
Wow.
So if they want a piece of cheesecake at 1 o'clock in the morning, we make it happen. And our job is to make them be as low key as possible and to blend in as much as possible, as opposed to driving, a 29-footer limousine or just trying to be seen.
Right.
We had one particular guest that came in and she wanted to go to a beauty supply store.
Right.
And she just wanted to be normal and fit in. And so our job is to make people look Hollywood and feel Hollywood without having that big light shining on.
Light shining on them.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, family, so you already know what I'm going to say. I'm going to be a part of the family now. I'm a part of that because I think that I'm greatness, so I think that I need to be a part of making. I love customer service, so I think that we'll talk afterwards.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
And the concierge piece really came from me serving as a vice president, and then I went down and started waiting tables. Because a lot of times people they want great service and they want to be on a pedestal, but they don't take the time to learn the intricate details on how to better serve people.
Absolutely.
And so I went from being served to the one that was doing the serving.
Right, because I saw that you had, as I stated before, you had 20 years of service. Now, can you tell us some of the places where because I already know you were in leadership position, because look, we see greatness all over him.
Absolutely.
So tell us some of the places where you worked and some of the places.
Well, I started off waiting tables. I used to work at a gas station on Northside Drive. I worked at Chastain as a substitute teacher. I was working at a Hollywood Video when it was Hollywood Video on Northside Drive. So that was way back when. I think it's a laundromat or something now. And then I was waiting tables at Copeland's restaurant. And this was before anyone hired me. And so I realized that my gifting was really me serving in the shadows so that other people can shine in the spotlight. Right. That's what executive concierge is all about. And so whenever I connect with individuals, although God has catapulted me to the position that I am right now, this comes from years of me serving in the shadows. And now God is saying, okay, and for many of you all that are listening right now, God is saying, I'm bringing you from obscurity to notoriety because you've already paid your dues in times past.
Right. So let me ask you a question about the serving, and then we're going to get to your book so we can talk about your books. Why do you think people have such a problem with serving? Because
of the word. Generally, it's tied to a cultural thing. And so many times people confuse the word serving with servant.
Right.
And Jesus never taught us to, again, I think we talked about this prior to church.
Go ahead and tell them.
Jesus never taught us to lead by example. He taught us to serve by example. He said that the chiefest among you be the greatest servants. And so when he was actually serving his disciples, John chapter 13, he had the title King of Kings, Lord of Lords, but he also grabbed the towel. And as he grabbed the towel, what he did was he was actually showing them, this is how you serve people. You serve them, you strip yourself of the title, you grab a towel, and you serve your people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I think that, I don't know, maybe African Americans have a problem with that because of our history.
Because of our history, right.
Because of our history.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Today's guest is Felix Anderson, brand advocate, speaker, service coach, CEO of the Executive Concierges, and author. For more information and to obtain book or books, Wake Up Your Successful Self and the Wake Up Call and other apparels, log on to www.mrfelixanderson.com. Hey guys, we're back. And today we're talking with Mr. Felix Anderson. He is an author, he is a husband, a dad, he's an executive, and one good thing he said, he's a servant. So we're gonna get back into him telling us about him being a servant. Now, I said that he was an author, and he wrote Wake Your Successful Self Up. And it is on, where can we find this?
You can go to mrfelixanderson.com. You can go to my website, mrfelixanderson.com, and purchase a copy of the book. And one of the reasons why I teach people to do a lot of things independently is so that you can have a greater sense of revenue coming to you, because many times it's not, and this isn't bad in all cases, but some cases you don't want to push your product off on certain leverages because a lot of people will profit off of your platform. And a lot of people will profit off of you doing things because you think you need them, or they put it in a light where you need them when in actuality you don't need them.
Okay.
If you look at some of your major authors, a lot of your major authors, they're not on certain platforms that I don't care to name, but they're not on certain platforms, all because why will I need to send you to this platform when I can send you directly to me?
That's awesome. That's awesome, because I was wondering, could they go to like an Amazon or something like that? But no, you need to go, family, you need to go straight to
Mr. Felix Anderson.
Okay.
Right. Why will I need to send you around the way when you can come directly to the source? Absolutely. That's why it's so important that I believe ownership is so important.
Right.
Because when you own the rights to what you have, then you can send people directly to you, and it gives you the opportunity to really have a hands-on approach so that you can better serve them, as opposed to handing them off to someone else who may not serve them in a manner in which you would serve them. So if you come and you order my book, I'm able to touch you as an individual. I'm able to hand sign your book. I'm old school. I don't want to print out labels. I want to go ahead and write your name on the envelope, because I think, there's a professional side, but then there's also a personal side. And I want it to be personal, just like when you used to receive the letters back in the day. Do you love me? Check yes or no. And,
yes.
And I want it to be personal, where you used to have the handwritten letters and you couldn't wait to receive the package, because it's something about seeing somebody you're connected to, their own personal handwriting, and knowing that they took time to write your name and your address down on a piece of paper.
I love that. I love that. And I love the personal touch that you do give it. Now, to accompany Wake Your Successful Self Up, we have the wake-up call.
The wake-up call, 13 days to waking your successful self up.
Okay, tell us about that.
The 13 days to waking your successful self up is the practical application to waking your successful self up, because the area in which I need to wake my successful self up in may not be the area in which you need to wake your successful self up in. Okay. But the way that the questions are generated in this workbook, it will take you step by step, that will give you an opportunity to look at and say, okay, I need to address and I need to adjust in these respective areas. Now, I don't live my life based on rules. I live my life based on principles. Rules change, principles never change.
Never.
And so what you'll find in all of my books are a list of principles. Number one, in the wake-up call, you'll find where I talk about how I only put 7 things on my to-do list. Instead of putting 1,000 things, 21 things, or 18 things on my to-do list, I only put 7 things on my to-do list. And because I have 7 things on my to-do list, everything that's on my to-do list is high priority. And I only do everything in 7-minute increments. Even with this show, we're doing everything in 7 to 9-minute increments. If you notice, when you watch a sitcom, they'll do it in 7 minutes and then they'll have a commercial break. So most sitcoms are only 21 minutes to 24 minutes long. And so what happens is, when you break things down in small components, everything won't seem like it's this big, huge mammoth of responsibility.
That's awesome. So you were just saying that we need to have 7 major priority things, 7 major ones. Why did you choose the number 7?
7 is the number of completion. Just like with 13, as I was sharing with you, 13 happened it just happened. It wasn't intentional that it happened. And so when I said 13 days, I began to do studies in the significance of the number 13. But 7 is the number of completion. And I realized that when you put 7 things on your to-do list, do everything in 7-minute increments, it gives you the opportunity to pause and reset. And many times we keep going without pausing. Right. And so people say, well, don't start. I grew up and they say, don't start stuff if you can't finish it.
Right.
But I learned as I matriculated in life, sometimes you need to start stop, start, stop on the way to your destination. Even when we arrived here and before we arrived here, we started out from our home, but we had to stop at a stop sign. Then we had to start up again. Then we had to stop at a red light. But we were still on our way to our destination. That stopping and that pausing gives you the opportunity to not get ran over, not have accidents. So whenever you have opportunity to stop and pause, that simply means that, okay, you need to watch for what's coming. You need to reset before you get to your destination.
Did I forget to add that he was a teacher as well?
I'm sorry, it just came out. So it just came out.
I think I forgot to add that he was a teacher. Okay. Now tell me something. I want to ask you, how can I, now this is Relationship 101, and we are also a part, this show was derived from a Facebook page called Relationship 101. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to the viewers and I'm going to show them this book. How can waking your successful self up relate to relationships in your life?
Many times, a lot of times, and I shared this early on today on the Periscope platform, many times we need to unsubscribe to a lot of different things that are in our life. I believe that there has to be a level of attraction before there can become a level of attachment. And there's a lot of things that we are subscribed to, a lot of ideologies, a lot of the way a lot of people think, a lot of things that we're subscribed to that we need to unsubscribe to. Sometimes you may be connected to an email list that no longer serves where you are in life. As it relates to relationships, sometimes we have to detox. And we have to detach, and sometimes we have to prune in order to prosper. There have been people in our life that we've been connected to who no longer serve us purpose. And I have to share this. And
go ahead.
And I hope I may share this for the listening audience with no offense. Some people are like the dead ends on a black woman's hair. Sometimes you have to cut them off so that you can experience new growth. And so in order for you to experience new growth, you got to make sure that you snip. And it's nothing personal, but what happens is if I allow you to stay attached to me, then you're going to suck the life out of me. So I have to wake my successful self up and realize that you no longer, you mean me well. You may mean well, but you mean me no good.
You are no good to me.
You may mean well, but you mean me no good.
Well, but you are no good.
So you may be great for someone else, you're just not great for me.
Right.
And you may have served a purpose in my life.
Right.
But you no longer serve a purpose in my life. And this is what I talk about in the wake-up call. I tell people that, go through your closet and find 7 things in 7 different areas of your life. Find 7 foods that no longer serve your purpose. Find 7 things in your closet that you're no longer wearing. 7 pairs of shoes. Find 7 items in your house. And me personally, for the next 21 days, I'm taking 7 things that's in my house that used to serve a purpose that no longer serve a purpose. You have to go.
You got to go.
It's nothing personal, it's purposeful.
It's purposeful.
Wow.
And I think that's our problem, is not understanding that things in our life should be purposeful, not personal all the time.
You have to detox. It's a detox. And waking your successful self up is really all about you speaking to the you that nobody sees. And sometimes you may be in a dead-end relationship and you may have to say, okay, wait a minute. Wake your successful self up. The real you wouldn't tolerate this.
Come on now.
But because you've been inundated with oxytocin, his vasopressin is inundated your oxytocin, you done lost your mind.
Wait a
You
minute.
have no oxygen.
We're going to take a break right there, and we're going to come right back right at that point. We'll be right back. Today's guest is Felix Anderson, brand advocate, speaker, service coach, CEO of the Executive Concierges, and author. For more information and to obtain book or books, Wake Up Your Successful Self and the Wake Up Call and other apparels, log on to www.mrfelixanderson.com. Okay, guys, we're back. Now just go ahead and pick up from where you left off and talk slow. Look, and so we can get it. Well, that's right.
Yeah, we were talking about relationships and a lot of the reason why people need to wake their successful self up. Many times individuals suffer from addictions and they don't know that they're addicted to certain things. And so one of the things, there's a dynamic book by Dr. Frida Bush, who's a local physician. Yeah, gynecologist, yeah. She has a book called Hooked, and in this book she really talks about and outlines how the psychological impact of casual sex and all of that stuff transpires.
Oh my.
And what she talks about is oxytocin and vasopressin, because when a woman gives birth to a child, her body automatically releases this chemical called oxytocin.
Yeah.
And then men, we release a chemical called vasopressin.
Okay.
And so many times people are inundated and they're overwhelmed in relationships and they're thinking, why can't I leave them? It's because it's a chemical impact. It's just like you can't wear certain colognes and certain things because everything don't match your body. But then there's some people you can walk by, whether they have perfume or cologne on, you're automatically attracted to them and you're drawn into them. And so what happens is you may have a young lady who's never been with anyone and she's only been with one or two guys, and so her oxytocin level is at an all-time high. So when you release that oxytocin, it's a bonding chemical. It simply says that I'm married to you, you're mine, and I'm yours. And then with men, we release vasopressin. So as a man goes out and he releases all of this vasopressin, the more he releases it, the more watered down it becomes. And so when this young lady's not releasing a lot of vasopressin, you're hooked to someone who's not hooked to you. And so as a result, you're wondering why he don't love me like I love him. That's because you are hooked. You're hooked. And you need to wake your successful self up because it's a mental thing. It is really mental, and you get into the soul ties and all of that. And so I know the producer talked about how we have 9 minutes, and so I'm very cognizant of everything that's going on around me.
Right.
And when she said we have 9 minutes left in this particular segment, one of the things that really stuck out to me was the number 9, because I have a 9-month-old. Last week I have a 9-month-old, and then this past Sunday my son turned 9 years old, and then my wife had a dream last week about the number 9, and then I had a cousin at the family reunion that we were a part of. He said, I want you to check out my poem called Situation Number 9. Remember that old song?
Yeah, Situation Number 9.
Blowing my mind. And a lot of people need to wake up because your mind is blown over people who no longer mean you any good. And so when she said there's 9 minutes left in this segment, 9 signifies the end of one thing and the beginning of another. So you need to wake your successful self up. You need to wake your successful self up in that thing that means you no good so that you can begin the new path to your purpose. And so that's the entire for me, I hear and I see things, and God always talks to me in numbers.
Right.
And so, as you know, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful. You all are catching me in a different light, because when I hit the studio, and every situation is different.
Yeah.
And this is why I tell people that many times you don't need to become like a chameleon. A chameleon only changes to the color of its environment. Become a cuttlefish. A cuttlefish can adjust and become its entire environment. Just like the Felix on Periscope wouldn't be effective right now in this particular setting. And so you have to learn how to adjust and adapt. And the reason why a lot of people are not successful is because they don't learn how to adjust well.
Now, I love everything, but as I asked before, because the Spirit is leading me here, so there's something that you need to say to the viewers. We talked about being hooked. You talked about all the chemicals that are released from a man and a woman.
Right.
Now, in your bio, I did read that your mother suffered from domestic violence, which she had to make a transition from that. Because of that, she had made a transition to heaven, and this is what we're going to say. And so tell us about that, because I think there's somebody out there that needs to understand how being in the wrong relationship, how it could really cause your life and alter those lives around you because
Right.
her leaving altered your life to some degree.
It did. And one thing that it taught me the value of forgiveness. And for those of you all who are listening, my mom was a victim of domestic violence. Now, my mother was the type of individual that didn't take anything off of anybody. Her persona and her demeanor would really remind me of you in the sense of, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And you see how she just tried to sugarcoat everything, and she tried to make everything politically correct. But my mom was one of those individuals that just what you saw was what you get.
Yeah, that's
and she was very raw and relevant. But she wasn't in an ongoing domestic abusive relationship. It was more of she was connected to someone who didn't want to let go of her.
right.
And sometimes you got to make sure that you go through layers in getting people to detach from you. It's not that you're attached to them, but sometimes people don't know when enough is enough. And so it was one of those situations where if I can't have you, no one else will have you. And so as a result, my mom, she was murdered as a result of that. And what it taught me was forgiveness.
Okay.
It taught me forgiveness.
Yeah.
Now, it altered my life. It changed my life in ways that you can't even imagine.
Imagine.
You
That's right.
know, and so I tell people this all the time. Learn how to celebrate your scars. Because your
Yes.
scars tell you who not to go, where not to go, and who not to connect with.
Right.
And just because we can't teach a lesson unless we've been taught a lesson.
That's right. That's right.
And sometimes you have to learn how to celebrate your scars. You had to go through that relationship in order to realize that they didn't mean you any good. You had to have a bad boss so that you can appreciate a good boss. You had to be in a bad relationship so that you can appreciate a good one. Wake your successful self up and realize that there are many people that's connected to you that will come to you and tell you, he ain't no good for you. She ain't no good for you. You have to be cognizant enough to realize that real friends will not only check on you when you're wrong, but they'll check you when you're wrong. And just because someone criticizes you or comment on a situation does not mean that they mean you bad. They could mean you well. Even in the customer service industry, when you look at customer service surveys, you may not like what people have to say about you, but you need to take heed to it.
That's right.
Because it's going to help your product become better. It's going to help you as an individual become better.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, learning from this mother, I'm sorry, did you have anything?
Mr. Felix is wrong.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's stick with Mr. Felix. One thing he said is when people, they'll check on you when you're wrong, but they need to check
you when you're wrong.
I caught it. Yeah.
So with this, unfortunately, family, this ends our session, and we are so thankful that you came
Thank you.
to bless us. First of all, let me thank my co-hosts for being here with me. The young men. One thing about it, when men can't do it, there's always an able-bodied superwoman who can.
Well, thank you.
And I want to thank you for being with me.
Thank you.
Also, for you to come and for you to bless us. You blessed us with much more than to telling us to wake our successful self up. You gave us so many nuggets.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we are so thankful. So with that being said, don't forget to go to MrFelixAnderson.com to get your book. And always remember, you got to take care of yourself. No one can love you. You can't love anyone unless you love yourself first. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.